Since then, the speed, the power, and the technology have evolved full throttle into the motorsports we love today. But one thing has never changed.
In racing, it's very hard to get your shot because it's so expensive.
Prodigy Racing League wanted to bring sim and gamers into the real world of motorsports. And my first thought was, well, are you sure you want to do this?
But if you've got the game, you've got a shot.
There's a bigger, grander opportunity to really revolutionize motorsport through gaming.
30 of the best gamers on Earth will race in the real world, in real race cars, until only 20 remain.
It's American Idol meets motorsport.
The talent level is immense.
They have it for real. I was not expecting that.
I would have given anything for an opportunity like this 35 years ago.
Welcome to the future of motorsports.
Very competitive, I want to win.
I will give it everything I have to make sure that I end up on top.
And an organization like this has become a dream come true to me.
Welcome to the Prodigy Racing League, a motorsports revolution. Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on MAV TV.
Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy 3 championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy 2 and then the Prodigy One championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.
We about to change the game. We out here taking names. Let our voices rise. Let them reach the sky. We about to change the game. Let's go!
Well, hello everyone and welcome along to the finals of the Prodigy Racing League BMW M2 CS Racing Cup. It's been a blockbuster weekend of motorsports and no less focused on Sebring, where yesterday Porsche Penske Motorsports grabbed 1 and 2 in the 12 hours of Sebring. Today, 2 sim racers will see their dreams take one more step to becoming reality as they win Prodigy Passes and head to the Atlanta Motorsports Park this summer to potentially sign a professional racing contract. Arjuna Kankipati alongside of Paul Jeffrey and ready to do this all over again. Paul, this is something unique. You and I, we've talked about this plenty. Sim racers getting their chance in the world of real motorsport.
Hello, Arjuna. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hello, everybody watching online. Yes, sir. This is, in my opinion, the best kept secret in the whole wide world. You, just like me, just like Arjuna, just like everybody watching, can drive a real race car and a chance of a professional contract. This is literally money can't buy. Okay, it's money can buy, but we don't have money. That's why we're here. So it's an incredible initiative, Arjuna. We've seen some absolutely legendary, skillful drivers, names you recognise, new names coming in. But one thing's for sure, everybody's giving their best effort to put themselves forward to be a future star.
And I really like as well, we head to Sebring, which has got so much history. But we went to Sebring in the Prodigy Racing League for our second ever real-world racing event. So we have experience around this track. We know just how difficult it can be, as do some of our Williams esports drivers. Let's head out onto track, though. Take a look at the drivers running around for qualifying, because ever important in these Prodigy Racing League finals. Make sure you're towards the front and outside of the danger zone. Paul, qualifying 2 laps. I was talking to some of the drivers before they got underway. They were saying the tire can do 1 lap, so they've got to make sure they get it nailed first time by.
Yeah, that's a big pressure for a racing driver in any scenario, but of course the stakes are so very high in this event, so you need to be on point. This is an old school circuit, came out in 1950. The layout we're running, not changed since 1999. The walls are inviting, the curbs are aggressive, and in this car, in the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup machine, to give it its full title, it's a very lively race car, Arjuna. It's not a compliant vehicle. It's not something you can just stroke it around the track and be nice and smooth. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to be on point. You've got to hit your markers. And you've got, as you've just said, pretty much one chance to do it. Pressure is through the roof. And you know what pressure does? It either makes a diamond or it absolutely crushes you under its weight.
I also love as well that in the iRacing World Championships, you get one lap. It's do or die in some ways in qualifying. Here in the Prodigy Racing League, you get 2 laps. Great. Use that reset button, which you only have in the world of sim racing, and try and go for that second lap. Here's Jaden Munoz in the Williams Sim Racing. Turn 1, we've got the grass and gravel on the outside, which I have no doubt we're going to see kicked up through the course of the racing itself, and then in towards this tricky complex big bend and run towards the wall. Expect that potentially of the opening couple of laps.
So then let's take a look then. Our first time that we get to see the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup in action around this beautiful 6 kilometre 17 turn Sebring International Raceway. I've mentioned already the braking zones are a little bit tricky. I've mentioned already that this is the kind of course that will spit your car into the scenery as quick as you can recognise that you're already in a little bit of danger. But Jaden Munoz doing a good job there. The number 1 car, by the way, David Toth, that we're looking at right here and right now. David, massively rapid in all of the qualification sessions leading up to this point. But what you've achieved in the past, frankly, means nothing in the present. It's all about the here and now, and this is David's opportunity to light up the timing screens for the first time. And as you can see, picture in picture, Arjuna, that's a man who looks relatively relaxed about his lot in life.
The Sheza Esports driver, he's got a podium in the iRacing World Championships. He's used to competing at this sort of level, so not too unperturbed by the challenge in front of him. Don't forget, by the way, if you caught the start of the stream, you saw the excellent teaser of the Prodigy Racing League live on MAV TV. A new episode will debut tonight at 9 p.m. New episodes every Sunday at 9 p.m. And the best part, episodes available globally the next day free on the MAV TV Go app, available on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. So join us and follow the journey through the Prodigy 3 championships as the first lot of sim racers to win Prodigy Passes continue their journey, including no less than at least 10 iRacers continuing their fight. Here comes David Toth then back around to the line. He'll give us a benchmark. Already seeing times though, a 2:16, 2:86 for Aaron Lopez in the grid and go. Number 3 is going to be the one to beat. Dan Amor's already pipped him by 53 thousandths. Jaden Munoz even faster. David Toth into 3rd.
This is some fantastic times already. We said that maybe the tyres will last for a couple of laps. Well, it's looking like these drivers are not taking that risk and they're immediately going for it. And again, we might be in simulation, but we're also training our skill set for the real world. And in the real world, there is no reset. You're in that car, you have to contend with whatever you've got around you at any given moment in time. So these kind of skills, this kind of knowledge, this kind of ability to adapt on the fly is going to be vital should they make it through this competition and get their hands on a real live racing car. We're not there yet though, Arjuna. We've still got the mighty task of getting these cars qualified. 24 drivers and only one is going to take away the victory when we go racing in a few moments time.
This is a relatively new car as well to the world of iRacing, added in the last build, which was not the one that we just had. It was the one before that. So end of 2024, these drivers, mixed opinions when you talk to them. There's been some drivers enjoying the challenge, some that maybe would have preferred something with a bit more downforce, akin to the Radical SR1 that we race with in the Prodigy Racing League currently. But ultimately, adapting to the challenge is what you have to do. Jaden Munoz continues to run around. Interesting that Pinto Jombi, who is the number 1 seed coming into the day, he was the first driver out of the qualifiers, so most number of points. He bailed after his first lap. He instantly said, you know what, it's not worth me going again. Quite a few of the other drivers, Paul, deciding, you know what, let's continue to run around the 4 odd miles of the Sebring International Raceway and see what we can get.
I'll tell you something, with the 2 minutes 15.926, that's a relatively comfortable place to find yourself if you are Zombie. You're going to come down pit lane, you're going to be relatively happy with your lot in life. It's a 30-minute race that we're coming up to, so what we're doing is we're preparing our best scenario possible to go into that race. But again, qualifying, racing, two very different things. The higher up you are, obviously, the easier your day's going to be when the green flag falls. Let's have a look, though, at Dakota Fripp coming through Sunset Bend. That terribly difficult final corner here at Sebring. There are bumps. Just delighted with the prospect of cashing you out, but for Dakota, absolutely no problem. We're coming to the line. We're looking for a little bit of time to move up our lot in life from 8th position, and on this occasion, he fails to improve. A 2 minutes 16.626.
So 0.2 slower. I think we are seeing kind of what was expected in terms of that tyre wear and life. There's a look, I think, at Dan Emo, bottom left of your screen, currently third on the board, just 0.3 or so off of the provisional pole. See a couple more drivers just continue around the lap and get some final moments of practice, because that's something else that's unique about the Prodigy Racing League. These drivers were told a week ago, Paul, it could be either Sebring or Navarra where they go racing. It wasn't until 2 hours ago that they were told, right, Sebring, you can dial yourself in. And so limited practice in many ways. Some drivers, on a hope and a prayer, put all of their practice into Sebring. They'll be glad the choice went that direction.
Yeah, that's another fantastic initiative. And again, with the Prodigy Racing League trying to bring in the real and the virtual together under the same roof, that we spoke about this, Arjuna, you and I off air before coming onto the broadcast, not giving a wealth of information to the drivers is exactly mirroring how things are in real life. As sim racers, we tend to gravitate towards data, towards information, towards practice time, perfecting our craft. In real life racing, you don't get to pick your car or your team or the tracks that you race on. You get what you can get and you maximise it. And that's what we're mimicking with this particular initiative. I am all for that one. If it was up to me, I wouldn't even tell them before the session started where they were racing. Absolutely love that. And why do we do it, people at home? I hear you ask. We do it so we can see who is truly the best of the best, not who's got the spare time to test, who can deliver in that moment in time.
And this is the other thing, right? No car coming off the factory floor in the real world is going to be identical to the next one that comes off the showroom floor. There's always going to be unique things that are different. And so, you know, even when you talk just setups as a team, you're always going to be having to account for those differences. In the sim world, we have that guarantee. All cars, down to the zeros and ones and the bits and bolts, identical. The setups that they've been given, identical as well. And for their benefit, given that we're here at Sebring, which can be relatively fuel thirsty, it's got a little bit more fuel for them to benefit from as well. 20 seconds left on the clock. Everyone is done in qualifying. Almost a quarter of a second at the front of the field for Pinto Jombi. But then the rest, pretty close, Paul. We're going to be in for a thriller.
Yes, this has got all the hallmarks of being an absolute classic. If you're watching this broadcast at home, don't go anywhere. We're about to go green flag racing. You thought qualifying was tight? Let's have a look at what these 24 drivers could do under racing conditions. Looking forward to this one.
You know, the draft's going to be important. These drivers have been talking about that in the build-up. They've got traction control to deal with, though, as well. And that's a hindrance more than anything as they try and get the power down in this BMW M2 CS Racing, 370-odd horsepower. Let's run you down through the details of the first of two finals with one Prodigy Pass on the line. We made our way to the Sebring International Raceway. The Prodigy Racing League was here at the start of 2025 for our second ever race in the real world, when Williams Esports did go out there and put on a show. This is their vehicle of choice, though, an inline 6-cylinder putting out that 370 horsepower, Paul.
Yep, fabulous car, as you mentioned, relatively new to the iRacing service. It's a driver's car. It's more akin to a touring car than it is a GT, and this is why we are here. That is the Prodigy Pass. There are not one, but two to give away over the course of the racing action. Not in one race, though. We've got two races, so prepare for double the value for money. Our good people watching at home, the name of the game, take that race victory. When you get it, you get your golden ticket, and off you go later on this year to try your hand in a real car and see if you can convert the sim to real life experience. Whatever happens for any of these drivers though, Arjuna, the process, the stage to get to this point has been absolutely grueling for these drivers. Whoever makes it through will deserve it, but we need to take a moment to give a round of applause to all 24 that have made it to this stage. These are very much the best of the best.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just getting here is an accomplishment in and of itself. So many of these drivers have been here before. I mean, we looked at Dakota Fripp. In our last MX5 finals, he crossed the line in first position. Penalty dropped him out of winning that Prodigy Pass. And the best thing is we are able to confirm, delighted to confirm, we are returning to the Atlanta Motorsports Park for Prodigy Week 2025, our third of these experiences for the sim racers to test themselves for the first time in a real car. And you saw the dates on screen as well. August 4th through 6th will be in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains the first week of August. I can't wait to be back, mainly, Paul, because it's the first time we'll be in Atlanta in the summer proper, which means, you know what, I'm not going to wake up in the morning and feel a little bit cold.
You're talking to a man that lives in the north of England. I have no sympathy whatsoever for your weather. It's always freezing down here, but it's going to be a great experience. And again, the temperature's something to contend with. We don't have this in sim racing. We have the comfort of our own rigs. In a race car, it's hot, it's violent, and it's noisy.
Absolutely. Don't forget, by the way, mention it at the start, but you can watch the Prodigy Racing League free anytime, anywhere on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download the MavTV Go app. New episodes are available globally the day after they debut on MavTV, Sundays 9 p.m. I'm excited tonight. Got my DVR set. I'll be there as well, ready for our second racing event from NOLA. Next week, next Sunday, Paul, if anyone's watching on MavTV, you'll see our first racing event from Sebring.
Absolutely incredible stuff, isn't it? It's so exciting to see how the world of esports, sim racing, virtual motor racing, whatever you want to call it, to see how much more solidified in the public conscience this is becoming. And the initiatives from the Prodigy Racing League are just a perfect example of that one. Taking what is for many of us, myself included, and I'm sure the good people watching at home, taking an absolute passion, something that we live and breathe, but in the privacy of our own homes, and turning that into the potential opportunity to go forth and, quite frankly, live your dream. That is such a sensational program that's going, and to say that we're on MavTV now and the general public can enjoy these races, I think it's going to open the eyes to a lot of people to the potential of sim racers in a real life racing scenario.
And I mean, the coolest thing about it as well is, you know, a big shout out to MavTV for on the fly making the change. And now, like I said, as of last week, all Prodigy Racing League episodes free around the world on the MavTV Go app. It's really nice to see them supporting us as well. So, like we said, go download the app, go check out more Prodigy Racing League action to come. But we can turn our attention to the sim racing world for once. We've got all our cars with unique liveries on display, a full field of 24, and now 30 minutes between one driver and a trip to Prodigy Week. Paul, what's going through the minds right now? I can only imagine the nerves.
Absolutely. This is the final time for these drivers. All the preparation comes to this point, and just like in real life, you're warming the car up, you're warming the brakes up, the tyres up, you're checking all your dash, you're making sure every setting that you need is configured, but most importantly for these drivers, Arjuna, it's getting your head in gear. Engage the racing brain, just like the real life counterparts. It's all about focusing on what's going to happen next. The best laid plans never survive first contact. Let's see if our guys do.
Well, let's get ready to do this for the first time in 2025. Ready to hand out some Prodigy Passes on the track with wheel-to-wheel action. I see some of our Prodigy Pass winners in the YouTube chat watching and waiting to see who joins them at Prodigy Week in 2025. It's Pinter Jombi, who out of the final corner gets the racing underway from Sebring in the finals of the Prodigy Racing League BMW M2 CS Racing Cup, and Jaden Munoz, Dan Amor, and Balish Pala all squabbling over second, third, and fourth positions. A couple of drivers sending it deep behind them as they funnel through the fast-flying turn number one. Not much gravel being kicked up. That's a nice thing to see as 24 of the Cup machines cycle onto the brakes for the first time of asking, we wondered if we'd see some side-by-side up towards Big Bend. The answer is yes, but only outside of the top 10 pole, front of the field, playing it smart and running in a line.
Yeah, some very nice driving all the way through the field from these drivers. They know that you cannot win a motor race at the first corner, but you most definitely can lose one. So it is a little bit formation flying throughout the pack, which is exactly what we want to see. In a competition like this, where there's only going to be one winner, there's an urgency, of course, to make your stake of that claim. But at the same time, there also needs to be some racing intelligence. And again, that's the kind of things that we're looking for. We're not looking for just out-and-out pace. We also need to see the drivers that have got the intelligence, the racecraft, the foresight to not do silly things and put the car in dangerous positions. One thing I will say, though, Jaden Munoz that we're looking at in second position, the body language of that car, Arjuna, suggests a man that's not too enthusiastic to stay where he is for much longer.
I'm surprised, to be honest, that he's even driving a car without any downforce. I'm so used to seeing Jaden in a GTP, in an Indy car. It seems a bit odd to see the downforce taken off. Similar for Dan Amor, if I'm being honest. He's won some races in the British Formula 4 Support Series Esports Championships that we've had. David Toth and Jersey Glack are going wheel to wheel. That's a battle that separates now them from those in front. So top six maybe stretching their legs onto the Almond Straight for the first time by. Going to enter into turn 17 at around 240 kilometers an hour. That's in excess of 135 miles an hour, right around what the Radical SR1s do as well. But this with a lot less downforce, a blind entry into this corner as well, but they all navigate through it safely. Pinto Jombi leads then after 2 minutes and 14 odd seconds. It's going to be 30 minutes though of this, Paul, looking in the mirrors to see where Jaden Munoz is placing that car.
Yeah, exactly right. This one is going to be a real test now for Pinto. He's got to look in his mirrors, of course. He needs to cover off the threat from behind. But at the same time, if you're looking too rearward, then you're not going as fast as you possibly can. And it kind of extrapolates the danger and the threat from behind. We're having a look at the second place car now, the number 10 machine. Currently, again, body language still very alive. The car's very much on its tiptoes, moving around a little bit behind the back of Jombe. Just filling the mirrors at this moment in time, Arjuna, trying to get the car in front to think more about you than their own particular battle is the aim of the game for all of these top four, to be perfectly frank.
It's where I feel like having more experience in the world of sim racing kind of helps you, because you're used to being in these nose-to-tail trains. That's a bit more bumping and barging as Nicholas Rice-Puto, Florida's own, holds off Alessandro Porter off towards turn number 7. It was fun, actually, to see Nicholas, who lives in Palm Beach, drive to Sebring to make himself known to the team principals and to the rest of the Prodigy Racing League. He knows that there's other ways and pathways to be a part of the league. Alessandro Porter's going to cause some chaos, though. Rice-Puto scampers past the scene of the incident. Porter's the only one spun around. He drops to the tail end of the field.
That's an absolute crying shame for Alessandro Porter. Now, as you say, down in 24th position and with damage on that car. Unfortunately, their prospects of any kind of big result have now gone away. And again, this is the kind of thing that you need to consider as a driver. In real racing, you have accident damage. A, that hurts when you make contact. B, it costs money. And C, it severely compromises the rest of your season. So, as a real-life driver, you have that in the back of the mind all the time, and that kind of qualifies your overtaking appetite, shall we say. We don't have that one so much in the world of sim racing, but what we do have, of course, is wanting to make a good impression, not to compromise your own race performance. I'll come back to that one, though, because have a look at this one. Down the Ullman Straight, 3 wide, into Sunset Bend is not the place you want to be. Bastian Matla decides that that's possibly not a good call whatsoever. Slips back into the back of this little battle pack. Mark Swan is the car that you can see just ahead of us. Jack Harrison as well, leading this little trio of cars. Double slipstream, double benefit as we run down into the first corner. This is not necessarily an overtaking spot unless you're very brave, and I think Bastian Matla might wisely decide to keep a watching brief for now.
He's still there. He's planted himself on the quarter panel, and they fan out 3 abreast, but not going to commit off to turn 3. Track does narrow down. Great to see, by the way. Mark Swan's made up 5 positions. The aggression, the intent clearly there as he sends it up the inside at turn 5. For Jack Harrison, he's a reserve driver. He legitimately got the call up 5 minutes before qualifying. And look at him right now, 16th position and putting on a show. Also interesting that Aaron Lopez has slid past Balazs Pala for 4th position. So some chopping and changing to the front of the field. And as you look back towards the hairpin at turn 7, there's some carbon fiber that's gone flying. Tobias Kruken up to 13th position. All sorts of chaos going on here as they work down in towards turn number 10. And there's a BMW that's lost all of its front end, Paul, and they're still trying to figure this out 3 wide onto the brakes.
This is absolutely incredible stuff. This is proper touring car racing. I know they're not touring cars, but they look like one, and that's good enough for me. This is absolutely fantastic stuff. You're looking every which way. Oh, contact in the middle of the pack.
And that was Wanji Lin, I do believe.
Matler.
Never mind, Bastian Matler, who's the one that slides down. It was contact with Wanji Lin. But we saw that kind of yesterday with a prototype and a GT car coming together. 2 different classes, not necessarily the type of incident you expect there with same machinery battling wheel to wheel. All of this is great to watch, but Paul, we've had a breakaway inside of the top 10 now. These drivers have cost themselves a chance of fighting at the front.
Yep, absolutely. The idea of the Prodigy Pass is slipping rapidly away from the grasp of these drivers. Now it's all about making an impression, doing the best you possibly can. Dan Amor, they'll be having a look here under all kinds of strife as well. 2 wide on the Exeter Sunset. Give each other room, boys. Very nicely done. A little rat-a-tat-tat on the door, and it continues down to T1.
I love how you say it, rat-a-tat-tat. Are we going to see a bit more of that contact between them as they work through the opening corner? It's close, very close. This is kind of what Pintajombi wants to see as well, as Dan Amor slides out in front now of Jaden Munoz. The more they fight behind, the more it's going to cost them some of their tire life, which by the time we get to the end of the 30 minutes might be something they're thinking about. Got traction control in these cars, but it's more a hindrance than a help. It really bogs down your exit speed. You want to avoid running into it. A couple of car lengths build up by the race leader as he takes advantage of that little squabble. Keep an eye out as well as Aaron Lopez and Balazs Pala up towards the hairpin. Car up the inside. Who's feeling brave?
Oh, this is more dangerous than brave, I think. Amor almost gets turned around as well. Good bit of car control to keep that BMW pointed in a straight line. Aaron Lopez is the one that's on the charge, though. Lopez has the outside line. This is the dangerous spot, but it'll become the inside. If Lopez can just brave it out for a little bit longer, he'll get it done on the run down to the apex. That's Munoz in the number 10 machine. That outside now becomes the inside. This is the beauty of Sebring. You can go wide on multiple corners, and it eventually comes back to you. But Aaron Lopez is the big winner through all of that one. He survives relatively untouched in 3rd position. Jaden Munoz looking very aggressive in our rearview mirror.
Well, and I wonder, it's good for Dan Amor, I guess, to get up to 2nd. Is he going to now have to really work through these next couple of corners to the Ullman Straight to make sure he can take advantage of that toe of the race leader? You can see them maximize the entry into the corner. Never mind the white lines in terms of track limits. You're invited to sweep out and carry a bit more speed on towards the straightaway. Then duck and dive. They run down where the WEC cars now have their pit lane and in towards Sunset Bend. Only a 1/10 of a second gained down that straightaway by Amor in 2nd. So let's keep an eye out on this one, Paul. Next time by, what's the gap going to be between 1st and 2nd? Around 8/10 as we end lap number 4.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is the problem with squabbling. When you're having a little fight, and clearly Dan Amor, Aaron Lopez, Jaden Munoz and Balazs Pala all have to squabble. They're on the same piece of tarmac. But when you're doing that one, you're not going quickly. When you're not going quickly, that gives the likes of Pintajombi an opportunity to pull out a gap. So they need to very quickly start thinking about working together. How they signal that to each other, how they execute that one is between themselves. But you need to think big picture here. It's all about the victory. It's all about the Prodigy Pass. If you don't get that golden ticket, then everything you've done up to this point, it's not irrelevant because you're still in the eyes of the judges, but you want the guaranteed victory. Fighting amongst each other, Arjuna, in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and basically everybody, not going to get you there very quickly at all.
Well, the Pintajombi fans in chat will be disappointed that I say. Unfortunately, the gap's now closed, and it's about 1/2 a second between the top 2 as they head back down to turn 10. Aaron Lopez thought about a look into turn 7, thought better of it. Left side of the screen, you can see Tobias Kruken and Ben Patton drop down the timing screen. So Alessandro Porta, he's sitting in pit lane. He's officially done from this race. Outside of that, 23 of these BMWs still in the fight as Lopez looks a little bit feisty down towards tower turn.
Yeah, a little bit scruffy on this lap from Dan Amor. Made a couple of mistakes, ran a little bit deep into a couple of corners previously, and that's very much reeled him in to the real estate that's currently enjoyed by Aaron Lopez. So I think Dan Amor is a man under pressure at this moment in time, more concerned about what's happening behind than trying to close down that just over half-second gap. That was almost the launch as we come through Le Mans Curve onto the Ullman Straight, and now we're going to see how effective or not Slipstream is in these BMW M2 CS Racing Cup machines.
About a 1/10 of a second last time around. Pinto-Jombi looks like he's trending to lose about the same again. Say hello, by the way, to David Dalton Jr., to Camden Hibbett, Ciro Zambra, who all drove for Williams Esports as they were known in the Prodigy Racing League. Paul, it's gonna take a couple of months to get through my head. It's not Williams Esports anymore. It's Williams Sim Racing now.
Yes, that's caught me out several times, and I still can't quite compute the change, which is fine when it's in the quietness, but the heat of the moment, it does get a bit leery. But it's still the same Williams Esports, Williams Sim Racing, Williams Gaming Club, and we are very much here for this kind of thing. Everybody watching at home on the Williams Sim Racing Twitch channel, on the Prodigy Racing League YouTube channel, a big warm welcome to you all. You've not missed much. You're still in for the heat of the battle. We're only 11 minutes and 50, Arjuna, into this first race, and look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars.
That looked like Jaden Munoz getting past, and indeed, yes, he's down to 5th position, so he's gone from 2nd down to 5th in these opening 5 laps. Been a difficult start to the race for that Williams Sim Racing driver. You know how quick he can be. Is he saving his tires and building up for the end? He's gone deep. He's gone straight down at turn 7. Opened the door for Dakota Fripp to try and take advantage, and as they head through Fangio, the track wibble wobbles its way through here. Lights flash. I don't think Jaden Munoz is too happy with what happened in front of him. He's going to have to now be very, very deep under the brakes. You can carry the speed around the outside. Dakota Fripp's having none of it, though. Sends it, forces Jaden Munoz wide and off into the marbles. Almost 3 wide they go. Look at the time they're losing to the 4 in front.
Yeah, this is very brave and a little bit aggressive from these two. We're right on board with Jaden now. Just as we come to the end of that particular debacle, unfortunately, Jaden has very much been hung out to dry, shall we say, by the rest of the pack. A lot of aggressive driving, elbows out, as you would expect in these BMW M2 CS Racing Cup machines. And I don't think it's over yet as we have a look at Jerzy Glak, currently up there in 6th position, car number 67. Dakota Fripp is the one up the road, but more importantly, David Toth is the one that we're keeping our eye on. As you can see, David now monster in the curb. So now, Juna, again, as a driver, part of the skill set that you need in real and virtual is just to acknowledge where you are quick and where you are slow. Don't try and find extra gate speed and, oh, here we go, battle for lead.
Battle up front, and Pinto-Jombi finally has a challenge. Dan Amor's gone around the outside. Got to be careful. Aaron Lopez going to now try, stick in that draft, and maybe pip the Brit down to the opening corner. The Brit's got back into the toe of Pinto-Jombi, though. Aaron Lopez left all by himself the outside line. This is feisty. It's going to chop back to the inside. You would not believe we've got 17 odd minutes left to go as they go wheel to wheel through the opening corner. Amor's off into the gravel. Aaron Lopez now suddenly in contention to try and take advantage. Out of nowhere, he cycles to the race lead.
That's a great bit of heads-up driving from Aaron Lopez in the number 3. Saw what was happening, decided not to engage, and then took the opportunity. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Also, calm enough to have a little scratch in the face while processing all that move. Fantastic stuff for Aaron Lopez. Love to see that from the Spanish driver. Really, really strong performance, looking at where the risks are, and then acting accordingly. Dan Amor, though, he's in a world of strife. This is going to be a test of the mettle of Dan now, Arjuna. How cool can he keep his composure? Can he get back on the pace? And can he fight and claw his way back up to the front? This is going to be fascinating from the number 9.
Dan, a member of the Apex Racing Academy. I did see him race last year in the IndyCar Pro Series. And the one thing that I just remember is he showed us speed on the road courses where we knew he had potential. But the first time we went to an oval, he was leading at one point and on merit. Now, unfortunately, had a bit of a spin, crashed, brought out the caution, but we'll put that beside the point. At the end of the day, the talent's there. We know the skill's there as well. For Jaden Munoz, I think that face has gone from looking forward to now wondering what's going wrong, because from 2nd to 8th, it's changed very quickly. Meanwhile, Aaron Lopez being given a chance to break away as out through Jean de Beyond Bend on towards the Almond straightaway. Pinto Jombi back to 2nd. Balish Pala, Dan Amor, door to door and banging as they get into the draft of the car in front of them. And the race leads already a full 2nd as we finish lap number 7.
Yeah, this is really, really critical times now for all of these drivers. They're hemorrhaging time to Lopez at the front of the field. Amor has the inside line, so hopefully for Dan, that's going to convert into some kind of advantage as we peek our way through Sunset Bend, over the bump in the middle of the track, avoiding that wall on the outside line, and back again onto the start-finish straight. Dan Amor is the man on the outside line. Balash Pala is the man on the inside line. Traditionally, that's where you want to be, but it's a tight braking zone down into T1, and look at this one, threading the needle. Contact between the two. Pala is the one that's around Amor on secondary contact as well. That is not good for Dan Amor. Massive contact. Jerzy Glack, I think, was involved in that one as well, and this is a disaster, Arjuna.
Eetu Eskalainen has to try now and fight with Dan Amor. I'm wondering if there's steering damage on that number 9. It's going to bully his way and hold on, but you can see the frustration evident on the face of the Brit. 16-year-old knows that his chances maybe come to a close, but only on track. Let's not forget as well, a big lunge up the inside there from Balish Pala on Jaden Munoz. These drivers do not want to wait around. Paul, there is a second chance off the track for all of these competitors. The top 25% in the BMW MTCS Racing Cup. So beyond the 48 drivers that we're going to see here today, they all get a chance to send a 60-second video resume to our team at the Prodigy Racing League, and then our judges, who have included the likes of Max Papis, Catherine Legg, Enzo Pietro Fittipaldi, all from the world of real racing. Then bring in some of our sim racing experts, Random Callsign, Arava, and a couple more. You get a chance to make your case, even if it didn't go all right on track. And so for Jaden Munoz, as a case in point, think about now the next 13-odd minutes as a chance for him to fight his way back forward and make his case to the search selection committee.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is not unique to just this championship, of course. Every time you race on a broadcast high-profile race, you are in what I call a shop window. You are displaying your wares to the public and to the movers and shakers and the people that matter in the industry. They take note. I certainly take note. Somebody who's having a bad day, I want to watch you, so I want to see how you keep your head, how you focus and refocus your attention, because that's what racing's all about. As I said before, in real life, things don't go your way. And I'm not interested in what you look like on your best day. I want to know what you're like on your worst, because you'll have a lot more of those than you will good days. And it's how you recover from that. So vital times for the likes of Jaden Munoz, for the likes of all the drivers that have been involved in incidents and dramas in this race. Can you keep your head down? Can you regather your composure? And most importantly, can you pick your socks back up again and charge on and show what you're made of? So all of these drivers, even if they're not in contention for the win, it's still game on for your future prospects.
Absolutely, as Nicholas Rice-Puto in front of this little fight with Eetu Eskalainen. A little bit of a gap now building to those in front. So Aaron Lopez has got 1.3 odd seconds to Pinto Jombi. David Toth a further 1.8 behind, and then Dakota Fripp in the choo-choo train, if you will. There is your race leader, off and away from turn 7. Got the Sebring 7 hotel with a great pool, a great viewing spot for the race, I'd assume, as well. And then let's run down in towards turn 10. We've seen the gap, if it's around a second, close pretty quickly in terms of draft. 1.3 seconds, Paul. It's kind of heading into the unknown for us right now. And Aaron Lopez, the 17-year-old, drives for Grid and Go Esports in the world of sim racing, doing very well to control the tempo at the front.
Yeah, Aaron Lopez is doing a fantastic job. I'll cycle back to that one in a few moments' time, though, because we do have a bit of a battle on our hands, it looks like. We're riding on board now with Jaden Munoz in the number 10 machine. Currently in 6th position is Jaden. He'll not be satisfied with this one. We've seen the trials and tribulations, the peaks and troughs of what's happened to this car over the first 20 minutes of racing. Believe it or not, 20 minutes already in. 10 minutes left to go in this first race. But Jayden, he's got a lot of work to do now. He needs to find a way past. He needs to show that he can do this aggressively but cleanly. That's the most important thing. And Balázs Pála, again, wants to show off his defensive nous coming into this race. And to defend is not an easy job. It's not paint your car to the inside. You've got to defend intelligently. And that's exactly what Balázs Pála is doing at this moment in time. A very, very robust job up there in 5th. But all of these drivers are, Juna. There's a lot of disappointment management will be going on in their head at the moment because they know, realistically, victory chances now are looking very, very slim indeed.
It's a weird situation because half of me wants to say it's down to 2. It's down to Aaron Lopez and Pinto Jombi. But the other half of me knows, as soon as those two get together, if they start fighting before the final lap of the race, David Toft, Dakota Fripp, they're all in with a chance. And I hate to say it as well, the last time we had Prodigy Racing League finals, Paul and I were in the commentary booth. We had 2 separate finals in which the driver that crossed the line in first was not the driver that got the Prodigy Pass due to race control. Dakota Fripp knows exactly what that pain is like. He made a bit of contact in the final corners of his final, crossed the line first, penalty, robbed him of his chance. But he's here, he's got another opportunity. All he needs is a chance to get even closer to the very front. But as mentioned, the Prodigy Search Selection Show, that might be another opportunity for you to fight your way on in. Let's not also forget that the other unique thing about the PRL, Paul, there's so many unique things, I know, but you don't have to just have a sim rig. You can also, if you want, break out your iPhone, download Street Kart Racing off the Apple App Store, and qualify for the Prodigy Racing League via your iPhone. Crazy to say out loud.
Honestly, man, I'm a little bit older than you, and I still think, wow, we live in a world where that's possible. It's just incredible. Opening it up to everybody. Dakota Fripp, by the way, let's have a look at this one. The number 17, a hip and shoulder for David Toft. Both drivers get away with it, but Dakota has said, I've had enough of this one. I am sick and tired of 4th position. Dakota Fripp moves up into 3rd. David Toft, though, immediately into the slipstream. We're running down the Ullman Straight into Sunset Bend. There we go. That's the defensive move. Occupy the middle of the racetrack. Make it so David Toft has to go around the outside. But have a look at that one. Balázs Pála to the inside. Ninja-esque sneaks up the inside line. Can he hold the car to the apex? It bounces on the rear suspension. Respect the bumps at Sebring. Secondary contact as well. And now Arjuna is 3 wide.
But not 4. Please, surely not. They're going to think about it. Can't quite get it done because the lead for Dakota Fripp's going to see him hold into the opening corner. Speed around the outside is going to carry Jayden Munoz for a moment in front of Balázs Pála before he has to tuck back behind after all of that. Great fighting through half a lap. It's cost them 2 full seconds. So now it's down to a couple of car lengths between Lopez and Jombi at the front of the field. 7 minutes to go. My speculation is 3, maybe 4 laps to go at the line for your race leaders. Paul, your Pinto Jombi, when do you go for the move? Because you've got some time on your side right now.
And that is the $1 million question. For Jombi last time around, he was 0.6 of a second quicker than Aaron Lopez in the lead. He knows he's got the pace. He just needs the opportunity. Jayden Munoz, for example, that we're looking at down here in 6th position, he knows what he's got to do. Find a gap, put your car inside it, hope for the very best. But at the front of the field, the stakes are so much higher amongst these drivers. Every single driver now, without fail, and again, the real versus virtual life comparison comes completely 1-for-1 into play. None of this is strategy. None of this is planning. None of this is testing and training. This is living on your absolute wits. As there we go, Aaron Lopez down, almost painted to the back of Jombi.
This is bumper to bumper. I think Pinto Jombi got in front of Aaron Lopez and now has decided, let's see if I can hold off. We don't have any other cars to worry about. I feel more confident about defending when I've got track position. 4 and a bit seconds, the gap between 2nd and 3rd. So is it down to just these two who will have 3 laps to go at the line? There's no ifs or buts about it. in towards Sunset Bend. You can see a blind entry into the corner as well as you tip the car in slightly to the right, then onto the brakes, over the bumps as you work your way back onto the power as gingerly as possible. Careful on that traction control. Last thing you want to do, have it activate and slow you down. Paul, two with a chance here, but two that have to be very, very careful. That battle does not get physical.
Yeah, this is going to be the highest level of pressure that both of these drivers have felt in quite some time. Let's remember what we're racing for here. It is a Prodigy Pass. This is an opportunity to stake a claim for a career in the world of real motorsport for both of these drivers. Aaron Lopez had the lead, now in second position. We didn't see that on camera, but we've very much seen the aftermath of this one now. Look at Lopez in screen. Look at that face of concentration. There's absolutely no blinking. Watch his eyes. He's looking around the racetrack. He's looking for reference points. He's giving himself space. He's side by side now. Jambi has the inside line. Lopez has the outside line. A little kiss to the door. It's all motor racing. Don't worry. If you come back with a wing mirror, you're not driving hard enough. And Aaron Lopez really needs to pull something out of the bag now, Arjuna. He needs to keep his cool. He needs to make sure he stays calm, having lost that lead, and trust the process. Trust your pace. Have faith in yourself. Back yourself for this move. And I think Lopez definitely looks like a man who's calm enough to extract something spectacular.
I hate to burst your bubble. Unfortunately, that's Coque Lopez, not Aaron Lopez, unfortunately. That's the Thibaut Courtois Racing team manager. So he's a unique story as well to talk about. And maybe we can touch on that quickly, right? But Thibaut Courtois Racing, the goalkeeper for Real Madrid. He's team owner, team manager, principal, if you like, for one of our Prodigy Racing League teams. Coque Lopez manages the sim racing side of TC Esports. Now, great to see him trying to make his own way through the E-to-Real ladder into potentially a Radical SR1. He's a bit further back in the pipeline, though. We know how good he is on Gran Turismo. Instead, here we go with 2 laps left to go, and Pinto Jambi blocks down to the wall. That's going to be uncomfortable, I think, for him now, trying to prevent the momentum, that speed around the outside. This is a corner of a million lines. You can find so many different ways to find speed around it, and Lopez is going to get back underneath. That's going to pull a bit of side draft, pull some speed off your race leader as they head down to the line. And once again, as close as you would like. 2 laps to go, and this fighting isn't bringing third on back into the mix as well. So Pinto Jambi going to be all the way to the wall, hoping he can slide his way clear into the opening corner, and he does.
Yeah, fantastic driving. Really good respect from both of these drivers. There's been a little bit of contact, but you can expect that one when you're fighting for a race lead. But so far, so good. And again, let's remember, we are judging this, not we as in Arjuna and I, but the Prodigy Search Selection Committee will be watching this one. They'll be well aware of the racecraft that these two drivers are displaying, and they'll be looking to see if there's a little bit of spark that they want to see. And oh, goodness me, Lopez, more than a little bit aggressive. Again, that little kiss to the side panel. Aaron Lopez now, he needs to retain his composure. This is critical in real and virtual. It's critical, Arjuna, in this race. Don't go doing anything silly. It is so close to tasting that success for either of these drivers. Every single apex counts right now.
I'm tense. I have no idea which way this is going to go. That gap has started to close, so David Toth behind about a second on this lap, so it's not coming down fast enough, but it's something just to keep in mind as we head on to the final lap. And Paul, the great thing about Sebring, there are a million different places to make moves as well. That look from Lopez did concern me to turn 7, if I'm being honest, though. A little bit risky.
Yes, a lot bit risky, I think it's fair to say. You were sitting on the fence there, Arjuna. It was very risky indeed, just to unsettle the car, if anything else. David Toth, by the way, look at this little fight. David is the proverbial cork in the bottle, shall we say, of this little battle pack, currently provisionally on the bottom step of the virtual podium in this first race of 2 this afternoon. David, though, looking relatively serene about his prospects in life, while everybody else is having a royal fight behind.
So here we go. One final lap from Sebring as the final 30 seconds on the clock tick down. It means the white flag in hand. Final 4 miles at the Sebring International Raceway. And into turn one, Aaron Lopez is a little bit too far behind to have a look to the inside. So he's going to commit the long way around and try and go up and under in towards turn three. He'll get into the back bumper of Pinto Jumbo, who parked it on the apex though. No move into the braking zone. It holds as they are.
Great racing from both of these drivers now. They know what the stakes are, they know what's available to them, and they know exactly what they need to do. Aaron Lopez will be well aware of the strengths and weaknesses of both respective drivers, and he'll know this is an opportunity to pull that pin and see what happens. Although Pinto Jumbo has the line covered, doesn't look. I love this Arjuna. Look at that one, nice and calm on covering the inside line. He's not defending fresh air. He's not swerving all over the racetrack. He's being very conservative but very accurate with his movements, and that's exactly the kind of behaviour we see in both real and virtual.
Comes down to these final couple of corners, then I think maybe Aaron's decided those final corners are where to get it done. And so there's a chance out onto the Elman Straight to set this one up. We've talked a bit about tires, we've talked a bit about traction control, the pressure, the mental mind games. But Paul, this is the same in the world of world motorsport. You set something up for an entire season and it comes down to one moment.
Yep, motor racing is pressure and pressure only. You're dealing with it in every way, shape and form, whether you put it on your own shoulders or it's the teams, the fans, the sponsors, the organisers, whatever it may be. How you cope under pressure is your strongest tool set in real life racing. These drivers are going to need that tool set should they make it through this stage and make it in to a little bit later on this year, a real car. But why don't you take us away, Arjuna, for this final roll of the dice?
Roll the dice, put your bets out there. I have no idea which way this is going to go. A corner of a million lines. Where does Aaron Lopez see his opportunity? Fights behind, but they do not matter. Pinto Jumbo's got one final corner to hold on. The bumper applied. Lopez gets to the inside. That's going to be a controversial one. The switchback's not going to make a difference. Here at the Sebring International Raceway, the bumper used, the Prodigy Pass provisionally going the way of Aaron Lopez. But what will race control have to say? Again, that's unfortunately Coque Lopez. Not quite sure what reaction Aaron Lopez has right now. But Paul, another great final in the books.
Absolutely outstanding, folks. Come on. We've just watched a 30-minute race with 24 drivers that are all very, very rapid, and we decided it on the final corner. No, we didn't decide it on the final corner. We decided it on the exit of the final corner for the race victory. Aaron Lopez then, in a little bit of a bump and run, a touring car pass, which I know very well from the day job. We'll have a look at what the stewards have got to say about this one, but provisionally at least, that was genuinely, Arjuna, satisfaction, guaranteed racing. Beautiful stuff from the entire field. I really, really enjoyed that one.
Loved it. Great racing out on track. Looking forward, though, to getting some clarity from our team at Race Control. Paul, I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because you can't move me off this fence. You did very well slightly earlier at the end of that race. Not this one, though.
It seems like a very comfortable fence there, Arjuna. I'll have to pop over to yours and sit on said fence and enjoy the inclement weather you were talking about earlier. But yeah, I'd like to see that one again as well. It was a very difficult call. You'd have to see the telemetry, really, to kind of understand the speed that both drivers approach that corner compared to previous laps. But again, we can only take it on face value. We can only talk about what we've seen on screen. And what we've seen on screen is Aaron Lopez took that race victory from Pinto Jumbo. And then Balázs Pala, by the way, got on the bottom step of the podium as well. So Pala, Dan Amor, David Toff and Jaden Munoz all had a really, really strong race as well. Great racecraft, lot of respect, Arjuna, lot of trading pains as we come to expect. But again, just showing ring racers, they know how to go motor racing in a virtual sense at least.
Absolutely. I think as well when it comes to the contact, you can understand why that happens. The stakes are so high. I think, Paul, the best part is now as well, right? When this journey began, I still remember it's now the middle of 2023 when Gustavo Ariel won the very first Prodigy Pass. I talked to a few sim racers who asked me, Arjuna, what is this? Tell me a bit about this. Should I spend my time doing this? Now I look at our field and we've got top level sim racers who are here week in and week out trying to become part of the E2Real pipeline.
Absolutely. I was at the Autosport International, which our UK fans will know very well indeed as a great show in the middle of England, doing a different job, working for a different client. And several drivers that I recognise and know, eSport drivers, sidled over, had a little chat. Big names who shall remain nameless. But when I said, what are you doing here? What brings you to ASI? Oh, we're doing some Prodigy Passes over there on the rig and I'm trying to win it. And these are drivers who, out of respect, I'm not going to name, but I am talking creme de la creme. I am talking people that makes your eyes water when you think how fast they are, and they've travelled to get on a rig to win that one chance. It means something. No, it doesn't mean something. It means everything to a lot of driving talent out in this field.
I mean, I'm just looking at a couple of the names that I remember. Adnan Grozdanic, Tom Katsadonis, Vasilius Belitsiotis, just a handful of drivers that have won their Prodigy Passes already. Luke Whitehead as well. So we've got a really talented class of sim racers that are getting ready to go for Prodigy Week, and one more driver is going to be joining them. The question remains, who will it be? And Paul, again, it's very comfortable up here on the fence in the broadcast booth. The benefit of the sim racing world, though, as compared to real motorsports, is unlimited camera angles, right? I've talked to some race directors in the real world where they've said sometimes the best camera angles they get of an incident is CCTV, right? Imagine that. In the world of sim racing, you can place a camera anywhere you want after the fact.
Which is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you can analyse to the nth degree every instant, every move, every input, every car position, but also that gives you infinite scope for appeals because the driver can say, yes, but look. And sometimes, I mean, I am not a football guy or soccer in the United States, so I'm talking a bit loosely, but they have VAR where the referee can stop the game and check everything and make sure it's a goal. There's also an element of sometimes maybe your first judgment on something is perhaps for the flow of the transparency a little bit better. Let's put it this way, Arjuna. If they said that stewards get paid 15 times more than commentators, I'd still be a commentator because it's a hard game. It's a hard life, a steward.
Yeah, my commentator for the Prodigy Racing League is Brian Till, and he's you've worked with as well. Lovely person. He does race directing, commentating, and he's done some stewarding as well. And as he says, he's a jack of all trades, master of none, which is being unfair to his own ability, if you ask me. But I always love picking his brain about the unique things about being in race control, about being a steward, because like you say, it's so much easier to just sit there and have to talk about it, especially in real time when you don't necessarily have all that information. I've been told we're trying to get a word with both, trying to get word down towards our race winner. So let's see if we can catch up with him in a few moments' time. We'll see what he thinks about that little bit of contact as well, Paul. But let's not forget, I think you've already said it, we've got one more final coming up shortly.
Yes, we have indeed. And these drivers, this is what's a curious thing. And this is where sim racing, to a degree, differs from real racing. In that our next group of drivers, they've all seen the race. They've all seen exactly what we've seen. They've probably even spoken to each other, got a feel for what is it like, what's the competition like, what's the pressure like, how's the track feeling. And yes, there's no substitute from being boots on the ground yourself. But again, having a little bit of, it's all about armoury. I call it a toolbox. If you try and do some DIY, you've got no tools, you're going to have a hard time. So as a driver, you go out there and you find tools by gaining experience, by being in situations. And then when it comes up again, when you need to knock that nail in the wall, you don't use a saucepan, you use a proper tool because you've been there, you've learnt it. And I think some of these drivers in this next race, Arjuna, they maybe have garnered some information that will help them from that first race. Or, conversely, like I would do, they may have just gone absolutely to pot because they've seen how deeply impressive this pace is, and they're going, my turn.
Well, Garrett Lowe was one driver that said, heading off to the New Orleans Motorsports Park, where we raced for the first time in the PRL, iRacing doesn't have that track, and he doesn't race on any other simulators. So it was interesting for him that he had to get ready for it by watching videos and whatnot. So that was interesting. So I was just hearing stuff in my ear. So I think that means we're ready to talk to Aaron Lopez. So let's see if we can catch up with our race winner, Aaron Lopez. Aaron, congratulations on winning. Provisionally, you are headed to the Atlanta Motorsports Park and are going to drive a Radical SR1. Tell me, what does that mean to you, the chance that your dreams will be coming true?
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't believe now, to be honest, but it was a very good race. I missed a bit the quali because I start PCs with about a lap, but then in the race, I start to see with this car you can fight a lot and the drop is so big, so I could overtake some people in the first laps, and then I stay behind of them. In the last laps, they crash, and I still pushing like ahead of Peter. In the last lap, it was super hard race, super in the limit in my opinion, but finally I could take the win, and I'm very happy in that part. And about the dream of my race in real life is amazing. I don't have words right now, so I'm very happy, and thank you for all.
Talk me through the final corner. What was going through your mind? How did you want to try and set the move up on that final lap?
I mean, I was trying to race so hard because Pinter started to fight me so hard with a little contest in the last lap, and I think, okay, if you want to play hard, we're gonna play hard. And in the last lap, 2 minutes, I tried to get the inside, but he stayed so much in the east, and I didn't expect that, and it was a bit little contact, but I think it was fine. I think it was like super hard race, but I think it's all fine in my opinion because he fight me super hard as well. So I think it was a very good battle, very good race in my opinion.
Well, congratulations, Aaron, on winning here at the Sebring International Raceway. We'll see you at Prodigy Week later on this year to drive a Radical SR1.
Thank you, guys. See you.
So great to catch up with our winner there. Loved hearing what was going through his mind, Paul. He thinks it was a fair bit of contact.
Yeah, I would definitely have to reserve judgment. I like the sound of your fence, and I will come and find a seat next to it. I'd love to see it again. I'll reserve judgment for now. But Arjuna, what I took away from Aaron Lopez's interview there, and this happens in every series that I seem to do, just so calm. I'm a commentator, I've won nothing, and I am stoked at this moment in time after that race. But Aaron's just like, yep, happy in my own skin, confident in what I could do, delivered, next. And that's the side of someone that's really massively in command of their situation, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, right? I saw Nathan Saxon as well jumping into our chat. It was really interesting talking to him. He was competing for Williams Esports in the Prodigy Racing League, and he was saying in our final round of the regular season at the Atlanta Motorsports Park that Paul, he just, I don't want to say stopped caring, because that's probably the wrong word for it, but stopped focusing so much and making sure things were perfect. And when he went out there with a little less mental strain, I guess that's probably a great way to put it, guess what? The results started to come a little bit better.
And that is a very, very interesting point. So bringing my real-world motorsport experience into the equation for a moment is, as a sim racer, you and I spoke about this a little bit earlier on, we focus on the detail, and sometimes you just need to let it go, Arjuna. You just need to relax and just trust the process.
Well, one more driver has won their Prodigy Pass. We're deep in the journey of the Prodigy Racing League as we work our way through Season 1 of the P3 Championship. Organized motor race. Since then, the speed, the power, and the technology have evolved full throttle into the motorsports we love today. But one thing has never changed.
In racing, it's very hard to get your shot because it's so expensive.
Prodigy Racing League wanted to bring sim and gamers into the real world of motorsports. And my first thought was, well, are you sure you want to do this?
But if you've got the game, you've got a shot.
There's a bigger, grander opportunity to really revolutionize motorsport through gaming.
30 of the best gamers on Earth will race in the real world, in real race cars, until only 20 remain.
It's American Idol meets motorsport.
The talent level is immense.
They have it for real. I was not expecting that.
I would have given anything for an opportunity like this 35 years ago.
Welcome to the future of motorsports.
Very competitive, I want to win.
I will give it everything I have to make sure that I end up on top.
And an organization like this has become a dream come true to me.
Welcome to the Prodigy Racing League, a motorsports revolution. Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on MAV TV. And you can follow along with the journey of our prodigies every Sunday at 9 p.m. on MAV TV. New episodes drop, and those episodes available globally for free on the MAV TV Go app the next day. Download now on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And Paul, the broadcasts are slightly different because not just are they a view in towards the race itself, but as well into the lives behind the scenes of our drivers.
And that is the singular unique selling point, in my honest opinion. There's a lot of unique selling points. We talked about these ad nauseum, but just to get into the heads and the personalities of the drivers concerned. Again, I'm going to use football twice. I've never used a football analogy before, but if you're watching Team A versus Team B and it's a great match, you'll enjoy it this much. If you're watching your team versus your team's hated rivals and it's a garbage match, you'll enjoy it this much. So we need to share the personalities of these drivers. They don't need to be names and accolade award sheets. I don't care about that one. Who am I supposed to like? Who am I supposed to not like? Who am I rooting for? Who am I rooting against? I want to know the people, because motor racing, Arjuna, you're a broadcaster, you know it as well as I. It's stories. Storytelling. That's what we do, and there happens to be a motor race on. Absolutely love what PRL are doing at this moment in time.
And I mean, just look at the differences between some of the drivers, right? Look at some of the drivers that came from street kart racing. Lawrence Beerton, he's a professional 737 pilot who grabbed his iPhone one day and decided, let me qualify by doing that. Then on the other side of things, you've got Gustavo Ariel, Eduardo Leo. They drive for Team Redline. They race alongside Max Verstappen quite regularly in the world of sim racing. They are at the top of the sim racing world. Let's jump into qualifying then for final number 2 in the PRL BMW M2 CS Racing Cup. Remember, once again, 2 laps for the drivers. They get 10 minutes, though, to work through the session. And we did kind of see, Paul, lap 1 is where the speed in the tyre tends to be. This is their warm-up lap. They're getting ready to go for the Flyers.
Yep, this is that. We enjoyed it last time. Let's do it all again. And before we do get into the meat of it, I would like to do a cool little moment with you all, share a little bit of a moment with you. Camille Franjak, that we're looking on track now. This man is the guy that won the first championship I ever commentated on, all the way back in 2019. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say brand names, so I won't say it, but it was a big GT Sport competition. Camille was absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen much of him since then. I believe he's got himself gainful employment with another manufacturer away from the sim racing scene. But Camille is an incredibly quick driver, so keep your eye out for that one. And I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a full circle moment for me. It's quite nice to see how my career has progressed since then. And now Franchak's out on track and hoping to take the next step in his own personal journey.
Well, I'm talking about full circle as well for Camille. He actually raced in or competed in the Mazda MX-5 Cup Global Invitational. Now, this was back in 2016 when iRacing used to send some drivers to be part of the shootout with the team at Mazda, where, of course, PRL CEO David Cook originally got this vision effectively for what the PRL could be and all the talent available in the world of sim racing. So cool for Camille to be here as well. He's been doing some racing in Porsches in his local regions as well. Beckham Jasir, one of the Williams Sim Racing drivers. That's going to be one of those things we have to catch in 2025. He's someone that, Paul, especially in heading into this year, 2024 was a blockbuster year for him in sim racing. He's got plenty of experience in karts, but last year he finally made it to the World Championship level for the first time. I think we need to keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something as well, folks watching at home. When you're racing at this kind of level, when you're competing at a high level in anything, doesn't have to be racing, it could be anything, even business. When you're at an high level, what really feeds success is confidence. Having good results, delivering strong performances, building a faith within yourself that you've got what it takes to compete. And again, same in real, same in virtual. For Beck, he's had yourself a great 2024, as you mentioned. He's going to carry that confidence. We're only in I say we're in the early, it's in March, believe it or not. We're a quarter of the way through the year. But again, carrying that into 2025, that's really going to help you as a driver, because a lot of this, it's a mental game. It's in your head. A lot of the pace, we were speaking about it before we threw to the VT, a lot of this, it's all about how you can extract it from yourself. And that's what we're looking for. Who can deliver, when they can deliver, when the stakes are at their highest.
Beckham Jasir's just gone to the top with a 2:15.817. Wow. He's only 12 thousandths quicker, though, than Jesus Cecilia, who, for those that remember, crossed the line P1 in our previous MX5 finals, but again, penalty dropped him out of Prodigy Pass contention. He has a second chance here today. Those margins, once again, razor fine through the field. Currently have about 20 times on the board, still waiting for a handful more. But Paul, we do tend to have to emphasize, let's not forget, lap 2 usually slower, so lap 1's where the benchmarks really are set.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And just to explain why that is, of course, the tyres, there's plenty of life in the tyres. It's only 2 laps, 2 push laps. But the peak of the grip, the peak of the goodness from the tyre has already been worn off on that first push lap. You can, if you maybe didn't quite nail the lap, you can maybe extract a quicker lap time on lap number 2. But if you're there or thereabouts on the limit, it's going to be increasingly difficult as you circle around this circuit to try and find those lap times. So again, another pressure point for the drivers, another judging point for the PRL. Who can find this lap time on an effectively single shot qualifying, high stakes, difficult track, difficult car combination? So it's going to be fascinating to see if anybody's underperformed. I know myself as a driver and many drivers that I speak to in the real world, we're big fans of banker laps. Set a lap that's at 98%, that's safe, that's respectable, that's representative, and then push on the following laps when you've got a comfort blanket, so to speak. Don't have that in qualifying here. 2 laps, it's all on the table. Make it happen. I love this.
The only driver in pit lane is Patrick Thompson. We have 23 drivers on the board. The only one, Camille Franchak, who qualified in via our Williams Gaming Club Time Attack qualifiers. There's 2 different ways to get into this PRL final, compete in the iRacing series with these BMW M2 CS Racing Cup machines, or via the Time Attack. So he chose that second route. Let's see what he can do as the only driver not yet on the board. Diego Fernandez is currently 6th. 28 thousandths would see him improve to tie 5th position as he crosses the line to end that lap. Does not jump up in time, though, as Sergio Ferreira, the one that finds the biggest improvement. So he's gone to 4th. Franchak's just exited out of the final corner. So what does the Air Force pilot have under his belt? He's got 3rd position under his belt, 2:15.857.
Let's take a look then at this flying lap. This is one of the fastest drivers in any platform, in any car, on any track you're ever likely to come across. So mark my words, Camille Franchak is leaving absolutely nothing on the table. We pick up then, as we've already started the lap, we've gone through turn 1, we're into turn 2 section of corners. In a GT car, about 100 kilometres, that you're exiting this point of the track, and then through Gurney Bend, named after American legend Dan Gurney, of course, we're accelerating all the way. We're looking up. Heads up now as we come in a hairpin turn. This is a first gear corner. Very, very easy to snatch a break here or run a little bit too deep. But for Franchak, absolutely perfect. We're nipping the curb on both corners, straight line in the exit as much as we possibly can as we're heading now through and in to the Fangio chicane. This car's not picking up as fast as you would like to. That's the nature of the beast, of course. You've got to carry the momentum coming down now into Cunningham. Again, curb on the inside, that's going to help rotate the car. Then we're going to straight line the exit as much as humanly possible. At Sebring, visual reference points are not as easy as some other tracks. It's very easy to carry the speed through these corners a little bit too aggressively and head straight to the scene of the accident. Camille Franchak, though, Arjuna, is doing a very solid job on this one flyer.
Tell you what, as much as we've been told lap 2 is maybe not where the peak of the tyre is, it's been good. Down to 3rd. Bit of engine braking there as he shuffles his way through here. Again, you'll see all the drivers maximize track usage, swing out beyond the white line on the run through 16. Nice and calculated with how much of that curb on the outside he uses onto the almond straight. Ask Jai Fletcher. In the real world, that curb can bite you. He knows exactly what we're talking about from our trip here with the Prodigy Racing League. Blind entry once again to Sunset Bend. Commitment nice and tidy as well. Hold that 3rd gear. Try and find your line. In the real world, there's a blue dot on that bridge which you spot. Here in iRacing, it's foot to the floor. Hope you find the right line. It's going to minimize his distance to the start-finish stripe, and as he crosses the timing beam, he will improve, but by 6/1000ths of a second, he stays in 3rd spot.
Look at that. Look at the timing screens, everybody. There is nothing. There's less than a blink of an eye between pretty much everyone. And I think Camille will be rather happy with that one. Head in the second row of the grid. You're in the conversation. And that's what this is all about. It's getting yourself in the conversation, making sure that you're in that striking zone so you can be involved in some kind of battle. You can be involved in the fight for the victory. Camille Franchak, third place. Not so bad. Jesus Cecilia up there in second as well. Expect fireworks from Jesus, having had all of the dramas of the MX5 finals a few months ago. Redemption arc very firmly on.
Absolutely, like you say, Redemption Arc, he's got his second chance right now as we get ready to go for the second of our finals in the Prodigy Racing League, BMW M2 CS Racing Cup. The first time we've used this car, of course, new to the world of iRacing, launched at the end of 2024. It's been an interesting machine, to say the least, as well, with its inline six-cylinder engine, the 7-speed dual clutch, about 370-odd horsepower going out through the rear wheels, and plenty of contact made in the first final, expecting some more drama in final number 2. Quick rundown then through the starting grid as they get ready to rumble. Beckham Jacia, the 16-year-old's going to line up on the front row alongside Jesus Cecilia, the 29-year-old from Spain. Camille Franchak's going to be on row 2 alongside Juan Valero, the Argentine driver, with Sergio Ferrero, Patrick Thompson behind them, Marcos Rafael, Diego Fernandez, Nicolas Alvarado, and Ade Coba Lopez, the top 10. And some big names as well from the world of iRacing. Ade Coba Lopez, got to keep an eye out for him no matter what car he is in. 11th for Paul Darling, 12th for Angelo Michel, a veteran staple of the Prodigy Racing League esports tournaments. Denny Ikepek, Martin Barner, Dylan Stebler, Sam Nasheed, Bryce Wire, Robbie Stableford, Daniel Nestorich, Emil Schultz, Sam Smith, Matthias Aravalo, Ben Geider, and Felipe Brenta. 24 BMWs once again with unique racing Prodigy liveries get ready to rumble at what is a historic track, and one that, Paul, I talked to a lot of our Prodigy 3 drivers. This was the one that in the real world they were all looking forward to the most, and they all loved being out there for the first time in January.
Yeah, it's an incredible circuit. We mentioned it at the top of the show. It's an iconic, it's an historic track. They've had many great races over the years, but what I like about it personally, and I think what makes the challenge in real life, and certainly to a degree in sim world as well, it's just those bumps. It's the different racing surfaces. We've got tarmac, we've got concrete, we've got cracks in the bumps, we've got big high curves, corners of various different radius, different braking events, different acceleration zones all the way around the lap. It's a little bit of something for everyone, which is a great platform for our series because we want to test these drivers. We want to see just what they can deliver when the heat is at its highest. I adore Sebring. If you ever need a commentator, by the way, or just someone to carry your bags, Arjuna, let me know and I'll happily flock over there and come and have a day in Sebring. It's a beautiful place.
Well, you'll appreciate when I tell you this, but first round of our P3 championship, we went to NOLA, and I let Brian Till drive us around the track, right? I was like, you know, I want to learn from an expert. But then when we went to Sebring, I coordinated it so that I asked Brian, you want to come with me as I drive around the track? I never gave him the option to drive. No, I made sure my rental car went around the track and I had a ball. I'm never going to forget that moment.
Yep, it's an incredible circuit. It's one of those tracks as well. You know it's a good track when you can show a picture of any single part of it and people recognise it. That's when you know it's a great track. It sticks in your mind. And what an experience, though, for these PRL drivers to come from their bedrooms, offices, man caves, wherever it is, they've got the gear set up, to go and drive on tracks like this in a real race car. That's just wow. I don't know what to say more to that one. It's just mind-blowing to me that this exists and these guys and girls have these opportunities.
But typical sim racers, you know, never impressed by anything, Paul. You know what they all said? It's not as bumpy as they all thought it was going to be.
I'll wait till they go back to the dentist when they get home and they'll soon find that's not true.
Or chiropractor, I guess. There's a look at Jesus Cecilia. Don't forget, we were wondering about this, I think, the last time. He wears the headphones around his neck, just mainly so he has a microphone to talk with his teammates and stuff. He's got actual speakers set up so that he can hear the engine noise. Don't get too confused by that one. Paul, like you said earlier, though, as well, these drivers, they've seen the first final. They kind of have that expectation for what they're in for, which impacts their mentality as they get ready to see the pace car drop off and away.
Yep, it does indeed impact the mentality. As we said in race one, this is the time to get the brain in gear. You've already done the prep work. You've warmed up those tyres. You've warmed up those brakes, which will warm the inside rim of the wheel and the tyre as well. You've got all your settings down. It's a setup that's already, it's a default setup, so you haven't got to worry about loading anything in. It's just now getting into the mental cycle. And if you're not the race leader, it's also doing what you can to get into the head of the cars in front. We see a few cars weaving, bobbing in and out of the line. That's not tyre warming. That's just filling mirrors of cars in front. That's getting in people's head and trying to get a mental advantage before we get loud and excited and it goes green flag in a couple of moments.
For 23 drivers, some disappointment after this. They'll get another shot through the Prodigy Search Selection Committee. For one driver, though, the jubilation, a dream being realized, a golden ticket that will send them to the Atlanta Motorsports Park the first week of August to test a Radical SR1. A chance to sign a professional racing contract in the Prodigy Racing League. Underway for the finals of the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup for the second and final time. Beckham Jasir has launched himself clear into the opening corner. Some launches, though, in through that left-hander. Camille Franchak's already got his way in front of Sergio Ferrero as they nuzzle their way into the braking zone of turn 3. Behind, there's plenty of chopping and changing as well, but what a rocket of a launch from the pole sitter as he tries to establish his advantage.
We've already seen this one in race one, that an early race lead is absolutely worthless because the slipstream and a hungry pack behind will very quickly find themselves on your tail. Marcus Raffel, that we're looking at in 7th position, the Brazilian driver in car number 20. That's been a solid start for Marcus. Avoid the carnage. That's the name of the game in these opening few skirmishes, these opening few encounters. Just make sure that all the panels are, broadly speaking, looking like they came out of the factory. Sergio Ferrero, we see picture in picture there, just in the bottom corner of your screen. Sergio concentrating very hard indeed, using the flappy paddles at the back of his gear shift, just like a real race car, of course. Seating position, ergonomics, the way that you manhandle the car is exactly the same as Angelo Michel goes for a bit of a trip.
Oh, 3 wide, maybe 4 if they're not careful, and this is where the troubles will start to brew. As a car that was half around, good car control to avoid losing too much ground. I think Dylan Stebler's the one that's sliding backwards as a result of all of this, though. Out of tower turn, they're going to work off toward the double left-hander, where it's a fast sequence with the multi-class traffic that they experience in the 12 hours of Sebring. For these Cup machines, it allows them to just stick wheel to wheel, even through the switchback on towards the Ullman straightaway. Be careful with that line. That's going to get you a slowdown. And behind, there's going to be chaos. Stapleford's run into the side of somebody and onto the Ullman straight. At least 3 cars with a slowdown on the opening lap.
Yeah, that was a little bit messy from Robbie Stapleford and crew. There we go. Let me see Robbie perfectly on time. Thank you very much to our producer. We're riding on board now. Coming down in the Sunset Bend. He'll be frustrated about that one. Somebody has a slowdown to the inside as well. As the accordion effect takes apart, all of the cars seem to converge on exactly the same bit of real estate at exactly the same time. Not a fun experience behind the wheel, but everybody does a masterful job of navigating their way through. And if we thought race 1 was dramatic, Mr. Arjuna, race 2 has just got a whole lot more bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie Stapleford, loved the webcam that we see of him there. I will point out as he makes some contact with Ben Geider behind them. Emil Schultz and Sam Nasheed get together, and that's a big bit of contact through a fast opening corner. Robbie Stapleford, more of a Assetto Corsa driver by day. This is the first time I think I've ever seen him in the world of iRacing, so trial by fire as he tries to make his way into the world of real racing and maybe to join his team BS Plus competition in the P3 Championship, where I did see at least one of the BS Plus drivers, Marco Pejic, who races in the orange entry in the real world, in our YouTube chat. Out through turn 7, couple of bits of side-by-side, but inside of the top 10, Paul, everyone's decided, let's try and get back to the tail end of Beckham Jasir. That includes Diego Fernandez in 8th position.
And that is the intelligent call. We spoke about it in race 1 for the benefit of the audience that are maybe joining us a bit late. We'll mention it again. Just like in real life racing. A driver has to think big picture. It can't always be about the here and now. It can't be about the immediate threat from behind or the opportunity in front. You've got to think, what's my goal? Why am I here? I'm here to take the win, and with it, the golden ticket. So what you need to do is think about the long game. Don't give up time having squabbles like Sam Nashid is doing at this moment in time. Work with your opponents. Try and minimise that gap. Beck Jasiah, half a second to the good from Kamil Franchak at the head of the pack. If you start squabbling, you're going to become very quickly detached from that battle pack, and that's going to annihilate your prospects in this race. Not quite so much of an issue for these cars a little bit further down. This is more racing for pride. But again, that just gives a little taste of the mentality of a race car driver and the amount of computations in their head they're trying to do while racing at speed.
The best drivers are always the ones that don't need to put too much of that thought power into making decisions,
yes.
right? And can therefore, like Michael Schumacher, they always used to say, right, he could do qualifying laps while talking strategy on the radio with his team. It's difficult, it's unique, and it's what separates the good from the great. Starting to separate the front from the back, though, is 3 odd seconds split Paul Darling from Adecopa Lopez in 9th position. Did see fastest lap of the race come in from Kamil Franchak in 2nd, so taking good advantage of the toe to work his way closer to your race leader. Marcus Raffel's alongside of Diego Fernandez, who's slid his way forward to 7th.
That's a lovely bit of driving from Fernandez there. Very nice and neat. Conservative overtake, but I think it's going to be a little bit vulnerable. All 3 of those cars are showing signs of previous engagement with their rivals, shall we say, as Adecopa Lopez tries to find a way past. Turns that into a defensive move, though. Paul Darling in the Lopez is in the 34, my apologies. It's Raffel that's on the defence/attack as Fernandez. So frustrated as a driver. You cleared this battle pack and then they're re-engaging you again. This is a big test now of mental fortitude. I've spoken a lot about that one. It's a very important aspect. Can he keep his cool, and can he start just delivering metronomic lap times and slowly eke away from the cars behind?
Diego Fernandez finished 3rd in the MX5 finals, so he's comfortable running towards the front here. See what he can do to try and close the advantage that your race leaders, that's plural, because Kamil Franchak's pulling away with Beckham Jasiah, have over those behind. Jesus Cecilia up the inside of Sergio Ferreira, out through Jean de Bion. Now, got to be careful here, because inside's going to really compromise your exit speed. And on the apex of the corner, as expected, a bit of contact between the 2 of them. And now the top 2 are a full 1.7 seconds clear. In final 1, it took a good 15-20 minutes for the top 2 to break away. We've seen the breakaway inside of the opening 7 minutes this time around, and Ferrero blocks the path off of Juan Valero. These drivers have to start working together, Paul, if they want to close back up.
Yeah, they really do, especially because Beck Jasiah now is under a world of pressure from Franchak. So those 2 cars at the head of the pack are going to start squabbling. It is inevitable, and that presents a delightful looking opportunity for everybody behind to get very firmly into that conversation. So far, Jesus Cecilia leads that little pack as there we have a look. Valero looks to the inside, holds the car nice and tight, but again, if you're holding the car tight into the apex, you're going to be stressing the tyres a little bit more. Be careful, boys. Give each other racing room. Absolutely outstanding there. Gave each other the room, allowed the race to continue very nicely. Ferrero holds that position for now.
And Sergio is one of the slightly older drivers in the field, 33 years of age, represents Obsidian Racing in the sim racing universe. But like many of those that have day jobs, he's also trying to balance that with competing here in the virtual world, I should say. So it's always difficult, and that's where the fact that the track was only announced a couple of hours ago, the drivers were told a week ago it was either going to be Sebring or Navarra. Some of them did a lot of practice on one of those tracks and were very relieved when earlier today, 2 hours ago, it was announced to be Sebring. So for them, their gamble, if you will, ended up paying off some major dividends for them. Well, that's not going to work out behind. Marcus Raffel's in the grass. He was turned by Adecopa Lopez.
Oh, devastating for Marcos. Let's have a look, see if he can get the car back on the racetrack. I didn't see that one happening, but it does move. Robbie Stapleford even, put my teeth in, up in a 12th position. So that's been a great start for Robbie. It has to be said. Really strong start, but let's turn our attention, folks. We've not looked at this one for a good 6 or 7 minutes. It's been boiling like a nice pot of tea on the kettle. It's been boiling up quite nicely. Camel, Franchak, look at this one. Car number 1 on the door panel, 2nd position. But look, let me draw your attention now, Juna, to the picture-in-picture. That's a man who's very, very calm and very happy with how things are going so far. Ominously calm, some might say.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out what that is behind him. I think that's a motorcycle of some kind.
That's a Ducati.
That's a pretty cool motorcycle for sure. I'm not as familiar with two wheels, but love someone who's built a room where not only does he have the simulator, but apparently something you can take out there as well. Slightly further behind, Patrick Thompson gonna get passed by Juan Valero, who holds that position. Now it's to watch out for Diego Fernandez to try and funnel up the inside. There's been plenty of contact between these drivers. You can see the front end of these BMWs being compressed in slightly. They didn't roll off the factory like that. Thompson's made some more contact with Valero. They're both off in the gravel.
Oh, that's a real shame. 2 cars into the space where there is only one, and the inevitable outcome, unfortunately, is checking out the iRacing assets when they come to making tyre barriers. So, Thompson then in a little bit of trouble. Let's have a look, though, again at our race leaders. We're riding on board now with the number 1 car, Camel Franchak, in 2nd position. Let's take a moment, if we can, because, again, I know I keep saying this phrase, and I need to find a different way of saying it, but real versus virtual. In a real car, unlike in sim racing, it's rare that you get to the back of somebody and pass them straight away. You have an analysis period where you follow the car behind, you see where the respective strengths and weaknesses are, and what you do, a top strategy tip as the attacker, show your nose in corners that you're never ever wanting to pass in, just to make the car in front think that that's where they're vulnerable. They'll concentrate on that one, potentially let the guard down, and then you make the true move. And I think this is what Camel Franchak's doing at this moment in time, assessing the situation and waiting for the opportune moment.
Well, another one joins, a couple in pit lane. Dylan Stebler, Juan Valero already there. Daniel Nestorovic joins the, well, I was going to say party. That's a slightly depressing party, if we're being honest. It might be a situation, though, Paul, where if you are Neil, you need to be careful with how much pressure you try and apply to Beckham here, because Jesus Cecilia's in some no man's land. He's dangerously close to the back of the top 2, but he's also not really that close to 4th or 5th positions either. And so the more that Franchak looks and shows his nose, if there are small mistakes from Jasir here and there, what is a 2-way fight right now as we finish lap number 5 could very quickly become a 3-way battle for a Prodigy Pass.
You are absolutely correct in that assessment. So what Camel Franchak needs to do at this moment in time is one of 3 things. Number 1, circulate behind, show the car that you've no intention of overtaking, and just build a gap for later in the race. A bit like NASCAR. Number 2 is harry the car in front in the hope that they're going to make a mistake. And if they make a mistake, you have a free overtake. Downside to that, you become vulnerable from those behind. Or option number 3 is Daniel Ricciardo, so succinctly put it, lick the stamp and send it. Make the move, don't mess about, no holds barred. If you're going to overtake in one fell swoop and try and gap the field. That's exactly what Camille Franchak is going to be trying to do. By virtue of the fact the move hasn't been made, I think it's going for option number 2 at this moment in time, Arjuna, and just trying to apply the pressure in the hope that Jasir will sail off the racetrack and give that lead away.
He would become the 4th Polish driver in the PRL. We had 2 drivers at G2 and Dominik Lukomski in the practice squad, so we've had plenty of fast Poles join us. There's some battling off of turn 7 as Patrick Thompson's back in all of the thick of the fighting. He's got alongside him Felipe Brenta, Sam Smith tucked up behind and wondering where an opportunity might be presented if there's any trouble up towards Cunningham corner, but back into line. It's a bumpy braking zone towards Cunningham as well, whether on the middle or the left of the track. And the drivers back into line as they head towards Tower. We're getting towards the halfway mark of this race. And so again, like Paul has mentioned, for these drivers out of contention, it's all now just about getting the most performance that they can, putting something forward that the Prodigy Cert Selection judges will be able to look at.
Tell you something, if I'm Patrick Thompson, I'm going to be putting forward the fact that I was in the barrier in contact and I've come back onto the racetrack and I'm in 14th position. Massive, massive credit to Patrick Thompson there. It's so hard to keep your head above water in those circumstances. Keeping your head above water is not Camille Franchak's problem at this moment in time. It's trying to keep your head into a space that a BMW M2 CS Racing Cup can fit into. Sebring's not the widest of track, but I think with Beck Jasiah leading this one, it's going to feel even narrower. Jasiah, what a defensive drive so far. Really clean, really precise, not wasting time defending fresh air. These two at the front of the field, it's not pass a minute, it's not drama, but it's properly professional driving from our two race leaders, and that, for me at least, is way more impressive than a million cheap overtakes.
And Jesus Cecilia is matching lap times with these top two. So up front, we're seeing a bit of a masterclass from the front three. Behind, a class on at least some action as they work their way out of Big Bend. Martin Barnes alongside of Marcus Raffel. Another one, let's not forget, in the barriers and now back out onto track. But Barnes going to potentially, or rather Raffel's going to have to watch as Ben Geider maybe gets in the mix here as well. These drivers all showing battle scars as well. There's no lack of contact. Like Paul mentioned, in touring car-esque machinery, they're invited to make that bit of contact. Another advantage of the sim racing world, you don't have to pay for your damage bill.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And it's a discipline, actually, that a lot of sim racers could potentially trip up over should they go into the real racing. You have to protect your machinery a lot more in real life. We'll come back to that one because Ben Geider is getting all excited about the outside line, wanting to have his toys whipped away from them the second he's unwrapped them. Drops back in again behind Patrick Thompson. So Patrick, with the somewhat battle-scarred BMW, is holding on very nicely. Moves up one in a 13th. Geider down into 14th. Philippe Brenter is the car just behind us as well, so Brenter won't be a million miles away from sticking his nose into this situation and hoping it doesn't get broken. Great bit of driving from all of these drivers, and you've got to respect talent on show, Arjuna. It looks relatively simple on screen, but these folk are pushing to the absolute limit, millimetres away from each other.
Speaking of millimetres, at the front, two drivers that are going to give each other just enough room and no more than that. We have a history of pilots in the Prodigy Racing League, Lawrence Beerton and Lawrence Herzing. Well, Camille Franchak, he's a fighter pilot, so what does he bring to the PRL? A look around the outside. He's caught Beck and Jasiah napping slightly, and so the Florida native on the inside up towards turn number 3 as they rub doors. This allows Jesus Cecilia to bring that gap down even closer. He's in the draft, and what was 2 at the front suddenly becomes 3 halfway through the finals. Camille Franchak back up the inside at turn number 5. That's going to cost him some speed. Off towards the hairpin. Jasiah will hold on, but the fight at the front is now on.
Yep, caution and decorum have been thrown out of the window in this battle. Camille Franchak has decided today is go time. Now is go time, and he's going to make it happen. Looks to the outside again. A little kiss. Be very careful. Oh no, that's contact. Jesus Cecilia puts the car in a gap that did not exist. Franchak at the back of your screen, fantastic stuff to get it away from the line of fire. But Arjuna, that's devastating for our front 3.
And is that the moment that defines the race now? Because Jesus Cecilia, you saw the hand go up, but I think that's pretty clear as to the way that Race Control is going to view that one as he tries to maybe get into a battle, and Camille Franchak just aggressively cuts down to the corner and doesn't realize the 15 is there. Does Beckham Jasiah now have to hold on for 12.5 minutes? The draft has been broken as well to win a Prodigy Pass to be headed to the Atlanta Motorsports Park. There's still some fighting behind. Adecopa Lopez part of the action as well. The 42-year-old never discounts someone who's slightly older, Paul, because what does age bring? Experience and wisdom as well.
We'll have less of calling people in their 40s slightly older, Mr. Arjuna Kankapati. Thank you very much, sir. That's a young age. It's a young age still, I'm sure. But yeah, Adecopa Lopez, what a driver as well. We're very familiar with this driver in the Williams Gaming Club. We know he's rapid. He's done a great job up to 4th position, and not only in 4th position, but very firmly posturing towards trying to find a way back in a 3rd. And again, talking about the tool set that I spoke about earlier, the armoury, never giving up, sniffing out opportunities when it presents itself is a very important tool, and I think, Arjuna, this could be a launch for the podium.
Diego Fernandez did finish on the podiums in our MX5 finals. He's got Ade Coba-Lopez, though, to deal with. Ade Coba-Lopez, second in our GR86 finals as well. Now third on the road in the BMW M2 CS Racing Cup. A case to be made for the search selection committee. What will they think about him with all of his experience as well? Behind, a bit of contact as Diego Fernandez and Sergio Ferreira battle out through 3, 4, and 5. The switchback coming from Fernandez as he gets the power down very, very nicely. But now left on the outside. You can make this move work. David Dalton Jr., who's in our YouTube chat, he was one in the real world making some very aggressive and bold moves under the brakes there. The one thing you've got to be careful of, though, Paul, contact under braking, not necessarily the wisest idea.
No, contact under braking is surefire way to send yourself straight to the scene of the accident. Both drivers, though, did get away with that one, but they need to temper that enthusiasm somewhat, I think, as we're coming into the dying embers, the last 11 minutes of this final motor race of the day. I can understand Fernandez's frustration, of course. He's not happy with 5th position. He's going to want to be on that podium. If you can't take the win, I know the podium doesn't mean anything. It's not a points-paying championship, but it's still, you want that on your resume. You want that in the back of your mind as a confidence booster, especially when you then speak to the search selection committee and you want to say, look, this is why I should go up, and I'm also a podium finisher, so I'm rapid, and these are the reasons why it wasn't a race victory. So Diego Fernandez has a lot of work to do. By the way, lap time watch, last time around, 2 minutes 17.1 for Beck Garcia, and 2 minutes 17.3 for Hazer Cecilia. So Cecilia has 1.8 seconds to make up in 10 minutes. That's going to be a tall order. And it's also going to be interesting if the stewards maybe had a little something to say about his contact a few laps ago.
Well, and to that, Paul, it's such a unique thing for a driver as well, right? When you know for a fact that penalties are going to be handled post-race, because now you're left in the hot seat, driving to the checkered flag, not knowing your fate, right? You then have to go into the stewards' room, the virtual one here in the Prodigy Racing League esports finals, but you still have to go talk to the stewards potentially, understand what went wrong, give them your side of the story, and then you'll understand what actually happened. So Hazel Cecilia doesn't know if he could be fighting for the win here, or if he's going to be dropped down outside of the top 10.
And that's the thing. And it's just every racing driver in the real or virtual space you talk to will say the same thing. Race to your current situation. If it's outside of your control, don't worry about it. Do the best job. Whatever will be when it comes to stewards. Ferrero, that we're looking at now, Sergio Ferrero in 5th position, is getting very interested indeed in the back of Diego Fernandez. I've got a feeling we're going to send it down the inside. I hope not, because that's not the brightest tactic. And in fact, Ferrero decides also that's not necessarily the best course of action. But again, body language. Love reading a car's body language. Anybody who doesn't watch motor racing, I talk to them about it. They say, how can you tell? You can just see it. You can see it in the posturing of the car, the aggression of the steering wheel. And I think Ferrero is sending all of the signals in the whole wide world that he's about ready for a really aggressive pass.
You can transmit a lot of information with how you move that car around, and like you say, body language. It's where we get nerdy as commentators sometimes, and we really microanalyze. Got to be careful there as Felipe Brent almost runs into the bumper of Sam Smith as they concertina out through turn 10. Body language of these cars, aggression. That's the one thing that seemingly is going through their mind. Oh, now Sam Smith runs into the back of Ben Geider out through the tower turn. One where you often see some drivers go as wide as possible, kick up some gravel. These 5 and 9 able to stay on the tarmac itself and carry all that speed off towards 14, 15, and now 16 as well. Haven't lost that much time to the leaders, all things considered. Given that they've been out there brawling, Paul, in a 20-minute race to only be 20 seconds down, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not that far.
No, not at all. You would really have expected that to be a bit larger. And this is why esports and sim racing is incredible, though, because all of this battle is all carryover into the real life. Let's have a look at Sam Smith around the outside. You probably wouldn't want to do the outside of Sunset in real life unless you've got a very healthy repair bill budget and a rather strong hands, head and neck safety device attached to your helmet. Leery place to be, but all of these skills are transferable to the real racetrack. This is great racing, 1 for 1. Oh dear, that's not great racing. That's not great racing at all. Sam Smith into the wall. That's the 55 of Sam Smith. Careful, get it on the brakes. Don't get collected. Good stuff from everybody making their way through. But devastation for Sam Smith and Ben Guider in a straight line to make contact. You don't want to see it, and you don't expect to see it either. Deathly unlucky.
Unlucky, and fortunately, I guess, they were the only two that got tangled up in that. It could have been a lot more significant, given that they had so many cars still around them. Felipe Brencher's got Matthias Arvalo behind. Felipe's up 11 positions in this race so far, so qualifying didn't go his way, but stayed out of trouble and slowly but surely picking his way through bits of chaos with Matthias Arvelo plus 8 behind him as well. If they needed their safety equipment, they could always go to Wine Country Motorsports, official equipment provider of Racing Prodigy, helping to deliver all motorsport safety gear, accessories to drivers, teams for top safety and performance standards. A big shout out to Wine Country Motorsports. That was one thing I think a lot of the drivers were both excited about, but Paul also, once they realized how expensive a helmet with a paint job cost, they were like, okay, time to start saving up for it.
I'm a man who has no racing career whatsoever, but would desperately like my own helmet. So, yes, I know that pain. I've priced it up several times and walked away with a tear in my eye. Not a cheap game, motor racing. And again, that's why esports and sim racing is great. You can do it for as minimal cost as you so desire. You can get out there, you can race against other people. And for things like the Prodigy Racing League, you can have an opportunity to transfer those skills into a real car, which, frankly, for the vast majority of the population, myself included, is well and truly outside of your fiscal means. So it really is massively... The link between real and virtual is smaller than it's ever been. And I've been in this game for a long time, and it's always been incredible. But now it's really close in many different respects. And we're seeing this with PRL. We're seeing this with the performance. You saw it in the VT that we showed earlier in the broadcast. The likes of Brian Till has been around for a long time, flabbergasted with just how good and transferable the skill set is for these drivers. Represented us all, basically, the boys and girls in PRL, representing sim racers and showing us that we deserve a seat at the motorsport table.
It's crazy. It's not just Brian Till, it's the coaches that we have there as well. Max Pappas, who, of course, raced Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR. He's seen it. He's done it all. He's a performance advisor at Racing Prodigy, helping not just one specific team, but then you've got the team coaches. Boris said with G2. You've got Robbie Foley, a BMW factory driver for BS Plus competition. We've got Tatiana Calderon, Catherine Legg for Guild and G2, IndyCar drivers there. Michael Preston for Williams Esports as well. Andrew Carbonell for Sucker Punch, who has so much experience coaching drivers through the Mazda ranks as well. They are all impressed by the ability of our sim racers to jump into these race cars and adapt. And, you talk about the stories of our prodigies. I always call out Eduardo Leo, 17 years old, lands at Prodigy Week. He had never been in a road car before. He'd done some karting, yes, but let's exclude that. So, Paul, what's the first thing we say to him? Right, here's the keys to a BMW road car. Go and do some autocross so we can throw you in a Radical SR1 later on today. Oh, you don't have a driver's license? It's okay.
That's a lovely summarisation, isn't it? It's absolutely beautiful. Making dreams happen. Massively cliched, hugely cheesy thing to say, but categorically on point for PRL. It really is. It's not only making dreams, in fact, I'm going to go one further. It's turning something that nobody even dared dream about into a realistic possibility. And I think that is, I'm here for that one completely. Fantastic stuff. But let's turn our attentions to the last couple of minutes of this motor race, if we can. Bet Jasia is still leading 1.4 seconds now to Jesus Cecilia. Cecilia lapping very quickly indeed, but not quick enough to close the gap down in the time frame available to us. And Ade Cobo Lopez currently holding on to the bottom step of the podium. But all eyes on this man, Arjuna. The man, as things stand, is going to get that final Prodigy Pass.
He, 16 years of age, like I mentioned, has lots of karting experience, but 2024 was a breakout year for Beckham Jasir in the world of sim racing. Most importantly for him, qualifying for the Porsche Esports Super Cup, the top level of racing on iRacing. Seen him succeed in the world of iRacing special events before, but this is a new level of competition. It's been an interesting start to his Porsche Esports Super Cup career, but nevertheless, this is just that next step. And 16 years of age, Paul, there's an attitude around a lot of young racing drivers, right, where they put in the work, they're willing to sit and understand the engineering side of things as well. They've got this, like, the potential of becoming the full package.
Oh man, at 16 years of age for me, I didn't even know what day of the week it was. I'm looking around my office and I've got things in here that are older than 16 years. It's massively impressive that at so young you can be so mature, so disciplined. And again, let's bring that point back in again that I keep making all the time here. It's all valuable skill sets for real life racing as well. The discipline, the ability to go out there, be somewhere. I mean, this is a big thing for a 16-year-old to be somewhere on time. Not guaranteed they can do that one. Coming to sim racing, they know how to be on time, they know how to be prepared, they've done the due diligence, they've done their testing and training. Perhaps they're doing a bit of fitness stuff as well to give them an edge over the competition. All of these skill sets, plus the obvious things like being on track and racing lines and battling and pressure absorption, all of these skills, at a 16-year-old, to be mastering those, and they're genuinely valuable in racing and life. HSC has got a big future, regardless of what happens today.
He's got one more lap to go. We look at the fight slightly further behind as Patrick Thompson behind Martin Barner and Marcus Raffel. A spot in the top 10 is up for grabs here. And you talk about being the full package. You know, Williams Sim Racing, they're helping behind the scenes with the P3 drivers, providing some sim coaching and helping them develop even when not at the track. Same thing for PitFit, the official human performance partner of the Prodigy Racing League, providing fitness training for all PRL drivers at every stage. That's a damaged race car for Adeko Lopez, who's going to rejoin down in 12th position, but ultimately it's going to be a bit of a moot point that he drops out of podium contention. Back on board with Thompson, as that's a bit deep from Martin Barner up towards turn 7.
Oh, nearly collected a slightly slow BMW Barner as well, but Thompson very much in control of everything there. Great switchback, great heads-up driving. Knew where the overtake wanted to happen, not where he was, but where he was going to be. That's giving him the advantage, though. Can he get it slowed down into hairpin bend? Yes, he can. And there's the BMW on the recovery. Look at this one. Great fighting.
Oh, almost pushed out into the grass as they flick through the double right-handers. This used to be a lot more of a corner. Pronounced at speed with these drivers. It's just a bit of a kink. That contact, a bit ominous though, as holding the inside. Patrick Thompson bullied back down to 11th spot. All this though has allowed Marcus Raffel to pull away in 9th position as they get ready to head to the final sector of the lap. Thompson lunges back up the inside. He's going to force his way on through. Into the kitty litter goes Martin Barner in the 12. And the move is made. But at the front of the field, as all of this drama unfolds further behind, it's been trouble-free for Beckham Jasir, and from flag to flag, a relatively simple 30 minutes of racing, but the lifetime that's built up to this, anything but simple. Out of the final corner, underneath the bridge, at the Sebring International Raceway, Beckham Jasir wins the final of the Prodigy Racing League BMW M2 CS Racing Cup, and the Florida native is headed to Prodigy Week in 2025, where he'll drive a Radical SR1, and a chance at a pro racing contract is his. Can't even tell that he's got that opportunity. Paul, just one more step on the journey for young Beckham Jasir.
Absolutely fantastic performance. They extended that gap by 1/10 of a second as well on the final lap. It's just a little final stamp of, yes, I've got this one under control. And Jasir was faultless throughout that race. He had to contend with a bit of drama. It's always a risk on the opening few laps, but everything that everybody could throw at him, the American driver was more than up to the task. Great race victory, well-deserved result, and a young man that looks a little bit pleased with his day's work, it has to be said, and so he should.
We can finally see the smile on his face. Looking forward to seeing Beckham Jasir at the Atlanta Motorsports Park on August the 4th for Prodigy Week in 2025. And Paul, I'll chat with him in a few moments' time, but unfortunately, you and I will say goodbye for a little bit once again before we get to do this for another one of our finals. But another opportunity for two more drivers to see their dreams turn to reality. And for the rest of the 46, the journey is not quite done.
Yep, everybody, I said it at the top of the show, and I'm going to say it at the tail as well. Every single driver that's made their way through to this stage of the competition has gone through absolute stress, strain. They've delivered when they've needed to do. Everybody's a champion, but we can only crown one race winner, or two, if we've got two races, and both of our drivers today are well deserving, Arjuna, of the victory. They've overcome all odds. They've taken everything. You naughty young man, not telling them the racetrack until an hour before they get on it. Everything that we could throw, bar in the kitchen sink, they've dodged it, swerved it, duped it, and Beck Garcia have come out on top. Fantastic.
We're trying to get a word with him. Reason I'm not looking at the camera is because I've got to go and click some buttons so I can be in the right place to talk to him as well. So we'll get that dialed up in a few moments' time. But again, looking forward to that. And Paul, I just want to remind everybody, new episodes of the Prodigy Racing League, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday on MAV TV, which means we're less than 12 hours away from another episode dropping of this P3 Championship journey. And everyone around the world can download the MAV TV Go app and watch it free tomorrow morning.
Yep, highly recommend that one if you're a motor racing fan or a sim racing fan or just a curious observer to see how this extended experiment comes out when the drivers get on the real track. Can't recommend enough that you watch that one. It's something I spoke about, something I'm personally very strongly about, is the storytelling aspect, and this is more than just the racing. So if you've got the opportunity, MAV TV app, get that downloaded, check those shows out, because folks, honestly, motor racing is more than just the on-track product. And I think at PRL, they're absolutely smashed it out of the park to explain that a little bit more and in an entertaining way to us all.
And while we wait to have the chat with our race winner, Beckham Jasir, a quick shout out as well to some of the other partners that make this all possible, including Biltong Depot, the official partner of Racing Prodigy, a leader in high-protein snacks, fueling the next generation of racers with nutrition to enhance endurance, focus, and performance. Let's go and see if we can dial up Beckham Jasir, who's standing by with us after winning Final 2 in the PRL BMW M2 CS Racing Cup. Beckham, congratulations. You just won a Prodigy Pass. You're headed to the Atlanta Motorsports Park for Prodigy Week. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, since week 1 all the way to week 6 of doing the time trials, it all happened pretty quickly. But yeah, it was a pretty good start. Me and Camille just kept pulling away a little bit. He decided to fight a little bit, and then unfortunately he got turned around, but he had a very good pace. But yeah, then we just kept it clean and brought it home.
You compete for Williams Sim Racing in the world of esports right now. What would it mean for you to get the chance to drive for Williams Sim Racing in a real racing car as well, to represent them in the P3 Championship?
Yeah, that'd be pretty amazing. The Williams team is it's a very big name, so it'd be awesome to represent them in the PRL Racing Series. That'd be awesome.
2024 was a breakout year for you, making it into the Porsche Esports Super Cup. What's the plan between now and the start of August when you get into the Radical SR1 for the first time?
Yeah, still continue to try to do as much as esports races as I can. It's obviously, it's fun and stuff, but yeah, I do I guess prepare a little bit now for the Radical.
Beckham, congratulations. Can't wait to see you in the foothills of Blue Ridge Mountains first week of August. Well, great chat there with Beckham Jasir, a young racing driver, short on words right now, but I'm sure not short on any emotion.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's a big ask. Where else in sport can you, well, actually everywhere, so scratch that one, but it's really cool nonetheless that someone can win something massive and then have in effect, a camera thrown in the face and be quizzed by you, Arjuna, the legend of broadcasting that you are. And it's difficult to articulate everything you want to say. You've got to gather your composure, get everything together. At 16 years old. At 16 years old. Wow.
See, when they win a race in the P3 Championship, at least they don't have to talk to me. They get to talk to Katie Kyle instead, which I admit a much more preferable option if you ask me as well. Paul, like I said, for the remaining 46 drivers that did not win their Prodigy Pass, the Search Selection Committee will give them another opportunity. Question still remains, though, what race control is going to have to say, especially about final number 1. And so that's where our great team behind the scenes gets to go off and do some work while you and I ride off into the sunset.
Yep, wouldn't have it any other way. Absolutely wonderful. Big thank you as well, by the way, to everybody watching at home. Thank you very much for your company this afternoon, this morning, this evening, wherever you are in the world. It's hopefully been a very entertaining couple of races. I, for one, have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to follow Prodigy Racing League on social media and on TV and on YouTube and everywhere else, Arjuna, to follow the story of our future upcoming superstars. It's going to be a fascinating journey.
We are 2 weekends away from wrapping up the first season of the P3 Championship, returning to the Big Easy to the Atlanta Motorsports Park for our playoffs, where the remaining drivers will all be on track at the same time, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we say goodbye, quick final thank yous. Women in Motorsports North America, Advanced Sim Racing, Max Pappas Innovations, and Racing Electronics, all making this possible in the Prodigy Racing League. Don't forget, we've said it plenty, one final reminder, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sundays on MAV TV, new episodes of the Prodigy Racing League, which can be watched all around the world, free at any time on the MAV TV Go app, available on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Big team that makes this all possible, a dream that started in 2023, though, with just a handful. So many people to thank, not enough time to do it. So for our team behind the scenes producing and controlling all the action, for Paul Jeffrey, alongside myself, Arjuna Kangipati, thanks for your company. 2 more sim racers are seeing their dreams take one more step closer to reality, and we'll see them in Prodigy Week at the Atlanta Motorsports Park. In 1894, France hosted the first organized motor race. Since then, the speed, the power, and the technology have evolved full throttle into the motorsports we love today. But one thing has never changed.
In racing, it's very hard to get your shot because it's so expensive.
Prodigy Racing League wanted to bring sim and gamers into the real world of motorsports. And my first thought was, well, are you sure you want to do this?
But if you've got the game, you've got a shot.
There's a bigger, grander opportunity to really revolutionize motorsport through gaming.
30 of the best gamers on Earth will race in the real world, in real race cars, until only 20 remain.
It's American Idol meets motorsport.
The talent level is immense.
They have it for real. I was not expecting that.
I would have given anything for an opportunity like this 35 years ago.
Welcome to the future of motorsports.
Very competitive, I want to win.
I will give it everything I have to make sure that I end up on top.
And an organization like this has become a dream come true to me.
Welcome to the Prodigy Racing League, a motorsports revolution. Catch the Prodigy Racing League all season long on MAV TV.
Let's go!
The world's first gaming-to-real racing league is here. The search is on for racing prodigies from around the world to test behind the wheel of real race cars. Racing is no longer just for the wealthy or elite. The future of motorsports is now, and it's open to all.
We're about to change the game.
In Season 1, 32 of the best racing gamers were sent to real-world tryouts in Atlanta, Georgia, all expenses paid. 24 were drafted by 6 teams inside the Williams Racing Fan Zone in London during the Formula One British Grand Prix, receiving paid professional racing contracts. Now, these drivers are competing in the 10-round Prodigy Three championship to climb the ladder to the Prodigy Two and then the Prodigy One championship. The search for racing prodigies continues. Are you a racing prodigy? Compete now.